Monday, I had the opportunity to be on the border in Arizona, and there was two sheriffs and their teams. Pinal County Sheriff Mark Lamb, Cochise County Sheriff Mark Daniels. And both of these law enforcement officers agreed or said that in their opinion that this crisis at the border is Joe Biden's crisis. It is Joe Biden's open border policies. It is Joe Biden's immigration policy that has created this mess at the southern border and throughout the country. And immigration enforcement personnel are being pulled from all across the country to try to deal with this situation at the border. And it seems that everyone is now becoming aware of that. Another thing we noticed is that the interior checkpoints, and I know many of you have been down on the border, these interior checkpoints are closed because of staffing shortages, as the agents have all had to be pushed to the border to protect the border. ICE is refusing to pick up criminal aliens from some of the prisons and the county jails. They're overflowing. Sheriff Lamb said more illegal immigrants are likely to end up in Tennessee than in Pinal County because they just transit through his county on their way to the final destination in the interior. And the cartels are pushing people through these counties and into the interior. They are very emboldened with this Biden open border policy. And until we secure this southern border, every town is a border town and every state is a border state. There are some things that should be done that we should see done quickly. First is to re-implement the Trump border policies, the Remain in Mexico policy. We also should have the asylum policies, continue building the wall. It is amazing to see that the construction items that are needed, the equipment, they're right there at the wall. But all the trenching is done. The roads are cut into the sides of the mountain. But there was a stop overnight. So all of that should be revisited. Starting back to build the wall, re-implementing those policies, ending catch and release that the Biden administration has done. We need an envoy for these Northern Triangle countries to deal with these issues. And migrants are taking advantage of our courts' backlogged asylum process. So President Trump had the migrant protection protocols. As you all know, 70,000 asylum seekers stayed in Mexico on day one. What did President Biden do? He suspended this process and would now allow 25,000 asylum seekers into the U.S. So we do have a piece of legislation, the Asylum Abuse Reduction Act. I'm a co-sponsor on that. It closes loopholes. It targets some of this asylum fraud, which is on the uptick, and would secure our country from thousands of illegal immigrants that are flooding the border. Unaccompanied minors are being apprehended at the border. They are certainly very vulnerable. To me, this is heartbreaking. But they're so vulnerable to the trafficking, the coyotes, the drug cartels, the gangs that force children to serve as mules and perform sex acts. And in February 21, the Border Patrol agents in the Tucson sector alone encountered 4,759 unaccompanied alien children. In 2019, DHS identified nearly 5,500 fraudulent asylum claims of migrants that were presenting as family units, and many of you covered those rent-a-child programs that the cartels had started to use. And so this week I am reintroducing my End Child Trafficking Now Act. This is the legislation that would require that quick DNA test for all adults accompanied by minors claiming that there is a family relationship without legal documentation. So they would have to take that DNA test if they don't have proof that the young person with them is their child. So those are a couple of steps that we have en route. And with that, I'll be happy to take a couple of questions.
We have a few moments, so before you ask your question, please go ahead and unmute yourself, say your full name and the outlet you are calling with, and the senator will answer your question. Thank you.
Senator, this is Mark Tapscott with the Epoch Times. Secretary Mayorkas on Sunday said that news media would not be allowed in the border area until they can guarantee that it's safe. Did you see anything while you were there that would justify, in your mind, keeping media out?
Mark, I did not. Thank you for the question, and thank you for being on the call today. I didn't see anything that would justify keeping media out. Media goes, they embed with into war zones. We know that they do that, and they do it well. So I cannot imagine why there would be this push to keep it out, to keep media out, other than they just don't want people reporting on what is going on. And to that, I would say, I had the opportunity to visit with some ranchers, get their side of the story on this, visit with some people where they're losing some of their property rights. One family with children, they were going to let the kids go out and play. Sunday morning, they looked out in the backyard, and there was one of these cartel-issued backpacks. So, then they couldn't let the kids go out and play. You're hearing a lot of this, and everyone says the uptick has been significant since Joe Biden won in November. They all know that this is a crisis of Biden's making. It is the Biden open border policy. It is the Biden immigration policy.
Thank you, Senator.
Sure.
Senator, this is Colin Anderson with the Washington Free Beacon. I was hoping to expand on something that you mentioned in a statement yesterday regarding border wall access roads that are now being used by cartels in areas that, maybe prior to weren't as easy to access. Are you able to give any more details in terms of what you heard from law enforcement regarding how cartels are using these roads? I mean, have you gotten any indication that they're stepping up enforcement in these areas and patrols?
Yeah, Colin, what it seems that they have done is to set up lookouts on the tops of some of these mountains, and then the individuals that are conducting the surveillance will stay up there for a period of time. They get resupplied with supplies, but what are they doing? They are then surveilling our Border Patrol and our law enforcement and directing the cartels. And just as a little side note here, Colin, I think one of the things many people don't realize is the sophistication of the cartels. These are big international businesses. And in the Arizona border, that border south on the Mexico side is controlled by the Serralina cartel, which is El Chapo's cartel. 50% of all the street drugs are coming in through Arizona. 50% of all the drugs you find on our nation's streets come in through Arizona. So this is where they have set up these surveillance systems. Now, with the border wall construction being pulled to a halt, but these roads already having been cut into the mountain, the cartels are using these as ways to more quickly move people that have signed on with their cartel. And if we are not going to finish this wall and finish building out these roads so that our CBP can use these roads, then the cartel is just going to pick it up and they're going to use these roads for their advantage because we don't have the surveillance on the wall. There are holes and gaps in the wall. It's a really sad situation.
Great, thanks so much.
Hi, Senator. This is Nick Balassi from JTN News, and I wanted to ask you about the issue involving the Rio Grande Valley agents releasing illegal immigrants without court dates. Have you heard that this is becoming a border-wide policy under the Biden administration, and is it even legal, based on your knowledge, to do that?
Well, you know, this is one of the things that is happening because the jails are full. ICE is not doing their job. So I don't know if they would say it is a stated policy, but in effect, because of their lack of action, this is what is becoming the policy. You are seeing these individuals just come on in. It's like the welcome mat is down and they are trying to come on through. And if you don't have the manpower to patrol, police your border, to stop illegal entry, and let me say this, I was just appalled that we have a DHS secretary who would say the border is closed. There is no crisis. To me, that is astounding.
And I wanted to ask a follow-up, just kind of looking back at the Republican majority under Trump in 2017. Do you think the Republicans should have made some of the Trump border enforcement policies law, like the stay in Mexico, the remain in Mexico policy, or the ending catch and release? Should they have actually tried to make those the law of the land to prevent what we're seeing now, this executive order frenzy, really, where Biden's just kind of easily undoing so many of the policies of the administration? Do you think the Republicans should have tried to make these laws through an act of Congress?
I always think that putting things in federal statute brings clarity and it removes uncertainty. Anyone else with a question? If not, thank you guys for being on. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Senator. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.